Today I'm going to talk about the debut album by In Flames. The album was released on April 1st, 1994. This might not be the exact date, but that's what I'm going with. As always, I'll give you the history of how the band came to be and the events that led up to the recording of their debut album. In Flames was founded in 1990 by Jesper Strömblad as a side project from his then current death metal band Ceremonial Oath. He wanted to write songs with more melody, but it could not do that in his then current band Ceremonial Oath. Therefore, Strömblad decided to quit. He began focusing more on In Flames. So that same year, Strömblad recruited Glenn Lukestrom on guitar and Johan Larsson on bass guitar to form the first official In Flames lineup. The band started as a trio. They recorded a demo in August 1993, and they sent it to Wrong Again Records. But they lied, and they said that they had 13 songs, even though they only had 3. The label owner enjoyed the music and immediately gave them a contract. After being signed, they began to work on their debut album, Lunar Strain. This was recorded in Studio Fredman and released on April 1994. The band had one problem. They did not have a vocalist, so Strömblad asked Mikael Stanne of Dark Tranquillity to provide session vocals. Many other musicians participated in the recording as well, including guitarists Anders Carl Naslund, and Oscar Dronjak, the latter of which provided backing vocals. There were also female vocals by Jenica Johansson and some violin parts by Ylva Watslit. The album had a very unique sound. There were elements of folk music, such as the inclusion of the aforementioned violins, as well as the use of acoustic guitars. I've always thought this album had a very unique sound. I thought the sound was more of a black metal sound, but without all of the evil lyrics. I just felt many of the guitar riffs and drum patterns sounded like black metal. This also had to do with the lo-fi production value. It's the only In Flames album not to feature Anders Fridén as the vocalist and Björn Gelotte as either drummer or lead guitarist. Guitarist Jesper Strömblad plays the drums, while vocals are sung by Dark Tranquillity vocalist Mikael Stanne, as I already mentioned. Some more trivia for you. Anders Fridén was the original vocalist for Dark Tranquillity, and he effectively traded places with Stanne in 1995. Currently, no members who played on this album are still in Flames, but the band decided to re-record a few songs with their second lineup from the 1999 album Colony, which included Behind Space and Clad in Shadows. Those songs just had the suffix 99 at the end of the title, and Clad in Shadows 99 was also released on the reissue of the album Whoracle from 1997. The album has 10 songs. It's about 38 minutes long. All lyrics are written by Mikael Stanne. All music is composed by Glenn Lukestrom and Jesper Strömblad. First song is called Behind Space. This one really takes off. I thought some of the riffs were reminiscent of classic black metal, and some of the other riffs sounded like death metal. The vocals are very raw and aggressive, but there were also some melodic moments played on a guitar. They used some keyboards in one part of the song. It was brief, but it added another element to the song. Let me also mention the demonic voices used in the second half of the song, which I thought added a nice touch. Then at the 3-minute and 40-second mark, they go into this acoustic classical music piece that closes the album. Seems to have come from out of nowhere, but it kept with the tone of the song. I really like this album. I feel it's very unique and original, and they took a lot of chance. Next is the title track. This one starts with some heavy and bombastic guitar chords. This one sounded more like traditional melodic death metal with some big guitar chords and melodic leads. The song lyrics talk about the blackness of space, the vast emptiness in the universe. They also use some evil undertones, which makes it sound more like black metal, but it's a little more toned down, a little more melodic. The song has some different vocal styles used, and they also incorporate some twists and turns into the rhythms. They also make use of interesting choices in guitar style, and they use heavy chords and tremolo picking. The third song, Star Forsaken, has an intro that sounds like classical music with violin playing, and then the first few guitar chords sounded more like thrash, but then the song continues and went into more of a black metal sound with some fast and aggressive tremolo picking followed by heavy chugging guitar riffs. They seem to be mixing a lot of different styles in the song. It's a song you can kind of bang your head to, and the vocals are very dark and evil sounding. Next is Dreamscape, and this is the first of 2 instrumentals. The song sounded like traditional melodic death metal with fast and aggressive guitar riffs that had lots of melody. The song was pretty straightforward. They did not really experiment with this one. Just a cool instrumental. I don't have much more to say about it. Next is the first part of a two-part song called Ever Lost. If you thought there were not enough metal genres on this album, they decided to add another one, which is doom metal. The opening guitar riffs are slow and heavy, followed by some dark and heavy vocals. I probably should have just called it death doom because that's basically what it is. The vocals are very evil sounding. You can hear what sounds like someone who is in complete anguish, and then that adds to the overall tone of the song. Part 2 starts with some acoustic guitars and soft female vocals by Jannica Johansson. Her voice is soft and angelic, and she sings over the soft acoustic passages. This is like the other side of the song where the first part was dark and evil and the second part was very light and uplifting. The song closes with a classical guitar solo played on an electric guitar with a clean tone. And next we have the second instrumental called Hargalatin. It's a Swedish folk song that dates back to 1785. Kind of interesting choice for a melodic death metal band to have this one on their album, but it really added this classical music element to the album. If you thought that this band has abandoned the metal death, don't worry, because they bring it back on this song called In Flames, which is interesting because you probably had forgotten that they had a self-titled song. This is just some heavy metal death. It has the tremolo picking, and this one has a thick bass guitar sound that can be heard. This album has Johan Larsson, and he is a key player in this band. The song takes lots of twists and turns and has lots of tempo changes. They even bring in that classic heavy metal gallop and some demonic voices. Then at about 3 minutes, they bring in some acoustic guitars and it goes into a melodic guitar solo. This part of the song reminded me of Iron Maiden, but I guess most metal bands have some Maiden influence in their sound. I like the main guitar riff. It almost sounds like the theme to The Odd Couple, if anyone out there remembers that old TV show. I know that reference is completely random for an album review for a metal death album, but it is just what it sounded like to me. The band continues with a heaviness, which may be their heaviest song in the album, called Upon an Oaken Throne. This is fast and aggressive, has some elements of thrash metal as well as an old school death metal. I thought some of the guitar riffs had a traditional heavy metal influence as well. The last song is called Clad in Shadows. This is one of their classics that I had mentioned beforehand. This one has their classic sounds. It's just a pure melodic death metal song with aggressive vocals and heavy yet melodic guitar sections. The song has more of a straightforward sound, and it is representative of what this sound would be on the next few albums. Now for my final thoughts, I think this is a very underrated album. They get very experimental, and you cannot put it into one category. It has elements of so many different subgenres that every song has something different to offer. I've always thought this was one of their best albums. It's very unique, and it doesn't sound like any of their other albums. This one also has a completely different band. So as I've said before, none of the members on this album are still in the band. So I think it deserves another listen. If you want to check out my ranking of all In Flames albums, check out this tier list right here. Please like this video. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe if you're not already. I will see you in the next one.